My high C38, Leo Coys and KTK. Lucas on the flight, causing turbulence, causing waves on our way to the confluence. New voice for the fans, from the pitch to the stands. My high locals than the South Bank lads. Leo Coys and a homie Krash. Hold up, what's this? A raft on the water to the confluence. Yeah. It's chance, I'm bound to rounds, I love the hey, to the wars, if it's this, you're off the C38, this time is now. Locals on the jump to hold it down. Like the stream and do 5 stars. The mile high hearts burn, crash the car.
Yes, you filthy animals. Welcome back to the Confluence. My name is Leo Coys, the Mile High Hotspur, and I'm joined by my homie, a rapid certified sicko, the driver of the Daddy Shuttle, and the co-host of this here podcast, my homie Krash. Couple of games under the belt, a couple of victories. We're sitting a bit better in that table. What are you doing, my homie? How you feeling? Say what's up to the homies. Let's get this podcast underway, bro.
Oh, I'm doing good, Leo. Thank you. Yeah, it's been fun, right? It's been interesting. I know we've had some kind of ups and downs when it comes to the the performance and kind of expectations and things, but yeah, I mean, whoever was at the game last night, you got a good showing, and we got another win that we're going to talk about, and I think there's some rumors that are out there that are things are getting to a point. We're getting close to the end of the window here, which means we're going to need to finalize something. So I'm getting a little optimistic with what I saw last night, and it's nice to see a team really battling. I'm now back with my girls and we have a tournament this weekend. So man, it's full soccer. We're full tilt right in the middle of it now. So you can't complain when you're surrounded by the game you love.
Yeah. Big up, Coach Krash, bro. Let's go. Bring home the silverware this season, my homie. We're rooting for you over here on the Confluence. You know all that, bro. But look, before we even get into the podcast, bro, let's just shout out everybody that's tuning in. Big up to all the Confluites, you freaking sickos. This podcast, honestly, is nothing without the community that Krash and I have, so gratefully have been able to start and to continue to grow this lovely community. So big up to everybody tuning in, whether you're watching this on YouTube, whether you're listening to it on YouTube, whether you're catching this on any of the podcast platforms. Honestly, your support is it doesn't go unnoticed, and it's definitely appreciated. And big up to everybody that makes the vibes crack in the South Bank, in Dick's Sporting Goods Park, the Mile High Locos, the C38, and Krash. We discussed in the last podcast how a mini win streak or a couple of points picked up here or there. I think I said maybe like 7 out of the 9 possible from this little mini home stint that we have, and we'd be sitting in some good position, homie. We even talked about Krash on the last episode, how if things went our way, we could be jumping the table, and we actually find ourselves, bro, from where we were at, like 2 weeks ago, bro.
11.
We find ourselves now in 7th freaking place, homie. What the heck is going on, dude? Like, Krash, don't lie, bro. If I'd have told you this was how things were going to turn out maybe a month ago, what would have been your reaction, bro? What would you have been thinking if I was to tell you that?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I would be happy. I'd be excited, right? And I would be what I would have hoped for, right? We knew we had a bunch of home games coming out of the break, and we knew we needed to capitalize on every piece of that. And barring the St. Louis game, which, you look back, we had a red card early and made it tough. Like, I mean, we've gotten, 12 points out of these past 4 home games. that's exactly what you want from your team every time. And the thing that's even more exciting than that is the fact that we were able to do it getting 4 clean sheets. And
Mhm.
so, we've talked about the goal, kind of the finishing, creating challenge that this team still is struggling with. But I have to give it to the defensive side of the game because they've found a way, right? Being led by our amazing goalkeeper Nico Hansen, who is a top tier keeper at this point, if I ever have to say so myself. But yeah, there's been some mistakes and there's been little moments, but they haven't broken, which I think is not the standard Rapids defending that we have seen in the past, which is exciting. And I love that at least that's the backbone, especially when we lost one of our best defenders in this transfer window. So, losing a, double digit $1 million center back and you still can pick up clean sheets. That's a good problem to have. So, yeah, I'm pretty stoked on kind of where we at. Obviously we have some challenges forward, but yeah, I can't complain with the performance, especially out of LAFC.
But I'm if you compare the vibes, and even the listener right now could probably pick up the vibes are 100% different, a complete 180 from kind of the vibes that we've been having on the show. Crash, like I'll be the first one to admit it. Like when we were going through that transfer window, and then just that I guess bad run of form, like you start to doubt. You start to have doubts, like you start to
Mhm.
think, dang, is this type of system sustainable where, we're creating a bunch of opportunities and yet we're still either scraping by and winning, or, as evidence from our record, we don't draw. We either win or we lose, right? And Crash, how many pods ago were we saying that, like, the majority of those situations have been ending in defeats. And now, bro, it's like I'm so glad that like the page has turned, right? And long may this type of results continue, because it does make for a better time to watch the Rapids and a funner time to even just spend our weeknight chatting about it, right, my homie? So
Mhm. Yeah.
um since the last time we chatted, Crash, we've had 2 games. There was the game last Saturday. SKC came into town to face off with the Burgundy Boys, and then we had this past game on Wednesday, yesterday night. Today is Thursday. Um, LAFC, a tough matchup against a heavy hitter in the Western Conference. We will dive into the LAFC game, but Crash, let's break it back. Let's take it back to last weekend when we played against Sporting KC. I, of course, wasn't there, bro. I was at the Lazy River in the indoor pools, just doing the dives, doing all that stuff. It was my birthday, so we were out and about. But Crash, you were there, homie. What were the vibes like for the game? And kind of talk us through, like, just while the game progressed. It was a 2-0 victory to the Rapids, a goal from Reggie Cannon, and then a goal from, of course, our top goal scorer and our talisman, Rafa Navarro. Just kind of walk us through, bro. How were the vibes? What went down?
Yeah.
Your overall thoughts on the game.
Yeah, no, it was good. Well, I mean, for me, the vibes were like through the roof. So, if anybody was there, and saw the mascots that walk players, both my son and daughter,
Right.
were there, which was exciting. My son, who is 6, he has already designated himself as a goalkeeper, which we'll see how that all turns out. But he did get to walk out with our big man Nico. And then my daughter, who's a defensive center back on her team and has really taken hold of that, she actually got to walk out with Loïc Williams. So both kids, it really had a really enjoyable experience doing that. So for me, as a dad, I mean, proud dad there moment for me. So no matter what the result, no matter what happened in that game, I was actually pretty stoked. And we got lucky. I think the key of it, we've had some pretty gnarly weather coming through these past couple weeks, and I think I was a little concerned going into that game. It didn't look entirely promising with the weather, and it held off for a beautiful night for a game. So anybody who was there for that game on Saturday really was put in for a treat. Perfect atmosphere for a game. And so I think from that setting, it was a good. And the Rapids really started off with an energy, and they were really wanting to go up on SKC early. I think they were really trying to build on the victory that they had, which I think we played them earlier in the season. It was like 4-2 or something like that. So they are really pushing for goals early, and you could really see it. I think if I remember correctly, it was a Georgia Manungu opportunity, like right off the bat, that we missed. But it kind of set the tone, right? And they really were pushing, and dominating the game, right off the bat. So for me, it was exciting. It was what I was hoping to see. But again, I think the problem ended up being the same kind of concern and worry that I've had for the past couple weeks, where we just, we put in a lot of opportunities, we put in a lot of really good chances, and then we just can't get him in the back of the net, and that was, really consistent in that first half. And even though we SKC lost a man, we still struggled to a degree to find the back of the net, which, it started for me getting red flags again, going, oh no, here we go again. We're going to do all this good stuff and not put the ball in the back of the net. So, yeah, so that's kind of where I started. Definitely a high, and then kind of just petered out. It was an exciting, fun game to watch. But yeah, definitely got to a point where I was a little like, oh, we're in a situation where I just kind of felt like there might be something else that's going to happen. We're going to get a mistake, or we're going to concede something, which it almost happened a couple times. We got lucky on a few plays there, and thank you for Nico for being who he is, because he really pulled us out of the fire a couple times.
Well, Nico Hansen, bro, is just Nico Hansen just continues to show why he's worthy of retaining that number one spot, regardless of who else we have on the team to be the number one. He is stating his case and damn near cementing that position for himself. I mean, I know Zach Steffen is a big name, and rightly so, a freaking fan favorite, but how hard is it going to be for Matt Wells, in the future, to try and make any type of goalkeeping decisions, bro? That is a freaking problem to have, bro. And I mean, I'm not really complaining about it, but Nico Hansen, bro, is, man, just bossing it in the back there.
Yeah.
Some of his saves, bro, like I say this all the time. Yeah, some of his saves are as good as goals up front. You know what I mean? Like there's times where he's been the reason why, we could have won the game by his stops. If the goals go in, bro, then it makes it harder for us to win a game. So very important, and doing some hard work, Nico Hansen. Big yourself up, my homie. And so just talking about the game, I forgot that we had went up by the man. That was at what, like, I'm seeing here that like the
38
40th,
minutes.
39th minute, 38th minute. So we went up until the 65th, bro, is when the Rapids actually scored that goal on the corner kick. Maziz on his, making an impact, bro. Was it his debut? I think it was, right?
It was, yeah. He subbed
Debut.
on like the 55th minute or something like that, for his debut. And to me, I was surprised, to be honest, that he came in so early. But I think, with the way that the game was going, being down a man, it was a really good opportunity for him to come in. So I think it makes sense for what Wells did there. And obviously, it didn't take very long for him to really make an impact.
Yeah, and good delivery for that corner kick. If you guys remember, it was the corner kick goal to Reggie Cannon. Reggie Cannon blasted it into the net and got himself on the score sheet. Dude, I remember last pod, kind of criticizing him, saying that I expected a lot more. Maybe it was the last pod or the pod before that, but I was saying I just expected more from him. And you know, maybe we put something out there in the air, bro, and he rose up and got the header, bro. So honestly, good on him for doing that, bro. That's got to do some. That's got to do some bits for the confidence as well. You know,
Mhm.
he's been getting the nod over the rest of over Keegan. Um, and it's good to see him producing, bro. Honestly, I mean, you see Miguel Navarro on the left hand side. That's
Mhm.
been very, very good for us, and it's good to see Reggie Cannon now, getting on the score sheet as well. And if it serves me, if my memory serves me right too, he was one of our better players against LAFC, which we'll get into here in a minute. And so we scored a goal in the 65th minute Crash, and then it took up until literally maybe tired legs from Sporting KC, and the Rapids just took advantage of it. What was it? Paxton Aronson picked up the ball somewhere, probably even past midfield. Went on a nice little dazzling run, made an excellent dribble, took the
Mhm.
ball into the box and dinked it off to Hoffa, who Hoffa then did some little, a nice little turn, slotted it into the back of the net, and Hoffa again on the score sheet, bro. How key is Hoffa to this team, bro? Like, where would we be without Hoffa's goals, bro? I mean, we kind of touched on this last part as well, like what would be going on with the player like Hoffa and
Yeah.
just how much he means to us, bro. But he's contributing, bro. And if it wasn't for him, dude, we'd be talking about a completely different team.
Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. I think, Hoffa has consistently been playing a solid game every game. He's always, on the top of the player pool of top rated in our squad. He's a dangerous player, and I think that his only limitations is really the people around him. And we'll talk about LAFC, and I think it's a prime example of it. But yeah, I think you know like Paxton's service in and that drive in. I mean, granted, at that point they were already down to 9 men at that point. So the back line was, and they caught them in transition, which was a great. I think it was a great steal or takeaway at midfield, is which kind of created that. But Paxton just drove into space and just kept dribbling and went straight in and put in a perfect cross to Hoffa as with his back to goal, and he just took a spin and put the ball right in the back of the net. So I think, that is the type of creativity and quality that Hoffa is good at, right? You get him into space, you get him into the box, you put the ball at his feet, and he's going to have, most of the time he's going to put in the back of the net. There have been a few moments, with the past few games where he's, gone just wide and here and there, but for the most part, he's your guy, he's your target man. So I want to see him targeted more, and I want to see that creation increase. I think we saw from Youssef, which is really good balls, good creative, efforts. He got, we'll talk more about him for the LAFC game, but I think I'm excited to see what kind of player he becomes when he's fully integrated in the squad, with a fully, up to speed when it comes to the training and match fitness. Because, that's the type of player that needs to be creating for Hoffa to be really, truly dangerous.
Yeah. And this game, Crash, I'm looking at the momentum chart. All burgundy, bro. There's tiny little spots there, and more so in the first half
Yep.
when Sporting KC still had their full 11. But dude, all burgundy, and it's not even like it's little, bro. It was massive amounts of burgundy.
Oh, yeah.
74% possession, dude. Dominated the possession, which is something that, us Rapids fans are probably have grown accustomed to, right? Is seeing our
Mhm.
team control the ball. And again, constant themes that we're seeing with these results, bro, is 2.92 expected goals. That's that's what we've kind of been seeing lately, bro, is, high XG, total shots Crash, 28. This is a key one right here, though. Touches in the opposition box, homie, 47. to Sporting KC's 4. Bro, that is freaking domination. And look, this was a game, Krash. If you remember our last conversation, we were calling for the Rapids to pwn this team. We thought, why couldn't this be a game where we scored 4 or 5 goals on them? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
if you ask me, bro, like I was going into this game kind of not necessarily expecting it, homie, but like it was not out of the realm of possibilities. And numbers like this, homie, show that we easily could have put more goals onto them, dude. Before we move on to the LAFC match, just what does that mean to you, bro? As from like the coach's perspective, just that 74% possession, bro. Almost 3 expected goals. Total shots 28, and then the touches in the opposition box, bro. That means are those numbers going to be skewed because of the sending off?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. You got to look at it a little objectively, because of that, right? You're gonna at especially after the first red card. I mean, that's 30 at the 38th minute. You're gonna dominate possession at that point, especially a team like SKC who's just gonna try to lock in and be as compact as possible, put as many people behind the ball, and then if they have an opportunity to transition, they're going to take it, but they're not going to take it at the risk of conceding. And so I think, you look at that, so you're going to get much more possession there. But I think the key factor is like you mentioned, the touches in the opposition box. That's a really high number. The other piece of it is going to be the big chances. I mean, we had 7 big chances and missed 5 of them. So for me, that's what you want. You want to be able to create those big chances. Between that and the XG of almost 3, those are my positives and concerns at the same time. We really could have scored 4 or 5 goals in this match, and that's easily, with the opportunities that we created, we could have easily done. And so I think that's the piece of it that we just have to be cognizant of and be happy about, because that at the end of the day is really going to be something we can build on. And we're starting to see it from Maziz, and with some of the rumors that are out there as well for some incoming transfers, if we can add a high level quality winger or another a couple attacking pieces to this squad, we have a real shot at pushing this team forward and changing that XG from 2 goals on a 2.9, and then to get to a point where we're actually outpacing our XG, which is the key.
Bro, and one thing I just can't stop like thinking about was they carved us, they freaking straight carved us like a hot knife through butter for that pass to Calvin Harris. Calvin Harris one-on-one with Nico, and I don't know if he like sent it really wide or if it hit the bar and went off, but bro, what a missed opportunity from the former Rapids player. Dude, when they played him on, dude, I'm like, oh damn. But then I remember it was Calvin Harris, bro, and I'm like, all right, well, and then by that point it was already too late. He had missed the shot, but dude, that ball goes in. We're talking about a different game. I'm glad it didn't, you know what I mean? But still,
and and to be honest, that moment was something that was like, oh, here's the old Rapids, right? Here we go. We had allowed granted, it was a great ball in, and Calvin, got it. I mean, that goal doesn't get saved or pushed wide if it wasn't for Nico. He came out, got big, made it hard for Calvin. And granted, Calvin's, not a bad player, but he's if I'm having my choice between him and Davon Joveljic, I'm going to take Calvin every day. Right. And so I think that's the key here is it did go wide. Thank goodness. I did kind of feel a little bad for Calvin because, he's back at his old club. He wants to score, and then he kind of flubs it and has to bury his face into the dirt, kind of thing. So But I didn't feel bad that hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was the other piece of it is there was a couple moments where we did kind of leave the door open, and even during the LAFC game, which we'll get into in a minute, we're seeing that door open a couple times throughout the game, and those are my only cues and kind of critiques of the defensive side is it's not inherently consistent. There are a couple little mistakes here and there that luckily we have not had teams capitalize on, but that was a prime example of one that could happen.
Yeah. Well, at the end of that Saturday, the Rapids did end that match 2-0, 2-0 winners against a team that, we should have put away easily, and we did, right? I mean, like we talked about, it could have been more, but I'll take that, bro, which was what we needed, Crash. We needed to pick up those 3 points. We needed to gain momentum because we knew that come Wednesday, yesterday night, we had a tough matchup against LAFC. Um, and to kind of go over the match against LAFC, the momentum meter on this one, my homie, is a lot different than what it was against Sporting KC. I'm looking at it here, and it looks freaking about on, about the same, bro. LAFC had their chances. We had some chances. We ended up getting a goal around the 22nd minute, which they're saying it was an own goal. I mean, how much, can it be an own goal? If I were them, I'd have just given it to Maziz. Um, it did look like the shot was going on target anyways, but it took a deflection, went into the back of the net at the 22nd minute, and it was for me, bro. I was kind of expecting the same thing as we had with them in LA. Remember, we did the watch along for that match.
Yeah.
Rapids dominated the first half. I think that's when we got our goal. And then in the second half, dude, it was just crickets from the Rapids, and LAFC ended up equalizing. And that's actually our only draw of the season was that match
Yeah, correct.
against LAFC
Which was the
at
first
Fairfield.
first non-loss in BMO Stadium that we've ever had too.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're unbeaten against this law all season long, bro. I'll take that any year, bro.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
And I will say the just before we kind of get into the specific game, I think, the key factors of this is, the LAC did starting lineup. They did bench Sun and Boanga to start.
Yeah.
Which it was interesting. And then Hugo Lloris also didn't get to start, and so they started their younger keeper. His last name's Carter. So yeah, there was some, and he actually did a really good job as well. So so but they have so much depth, at positions and some really solid players. So just because Boanga and Sun weren't out there didn't mean that we didn't, we weren't playing against a solid front.
Yeah.
I think our only benefit to that kind of lineup was we got a little bit longer of a run with players that are a little bit more manageable. So we definitely got lucky. LAFC is definitely, challenged when they come to Dick's. I feel like they think we hold the higher record of home wins against them than they have any results against us here. So it was good to go into it with some of that history and kind of hope and expectations, but they were a dangerous team that I expected to really capitalize on moments throughout the game. So it was definitely a nervy kind of expectation.
So before we even get you're right. Before we even get into the match, this was again a Wednesday night match, 7:30 kickoff. I honestly decided not to go because I just, didn't want to have a late night out and then a very early day today. So I figured I just watch from home, which was, I mean, for me, it was a good call, bro. I enjoyed watching the game here at home. But you, Crash, were there. I'll ask you the same question. what were the vibes, bro? I mean, LAFC on a Wednesday night. Did you see a lot of Tottenham jerseys? Was it a fun time? It looked like it was freaking there. It looked like it ended up getting, not necessarily completely packed, but every shot, bro, of the stands, it was filling up, homie.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely more busy than I expected for a Wednesday night game, but also, you know, anytime you have Sun on a team, you're going to get a crowd. I will say, I was at the first game, or his first game at Dick's last season when LAFC came to town. That place was packed, 100% full, and half the team was there, or half of the fans there were literally there just for Sun. Um, I will say I didn't see a ton of like LAFC jerseys out and around. There were a few, but there were a lot of Hotspur, Hotspur jerseys. There were a lot of Tottenham jerseys. There were a lot of Sun, jerseys. So there were a fair amount of people there really hoping to see Sun. So I can't knock that. I mean, obviously, when you get a chance to see a player that you're a fan of, you're going to take it. And it was a good night for it. Unfortunately for them, if they were there for him, they didn't get a whole lot of minutes for him. So atmosphere was good. It did feel like a Saturday night, which I think was really cool. And I only stayed till halftime. I had drove up from Canyon City that afternoon, went straight to training with my daughter and my team. And then once we wrapped up from training, I went straight to Dick's for the game. And being a midweek game, my daughter had school today, and I, had to get to work. And so being a long day and all, she was pretty wiped by the end of it. So, halftime, we decided to head out. Luckily, we went into halftime 1-0, and we listened and kind of watched the game on the drive home. But yeah, man, it was a good atmosphere, though. I think end of the day, I don't know. I can't speak to necessarily how the second half turned out, but I'm sure it was exciting once Boanga and Sun got on with a bit of nerviness coming from everybody at the same time. So I imagine the energy stayed pretty high and reserved all at the same time.
Well, Krash, the Rapids made some changes to the lineup as well, bro. I mean, we took out for this game Dante Sealy and Georgie Manungu didn't start. It was actually Darren Yappy and Maziz got the nod on for the start. Kind of looks like we went away from the 4-2-3-1 that we've kind of been playing with the Atencio and Ojideron double pivot, or even the Frederick and Hamza double pivot. It looks like we went with the 4-3-3. If Fatmob is right, bro. I think we even called, like, when will we see something like that? Because I mean, we were kind of talking about the Sealy and Manungu, just I'm trying to say it in a nice way, lack of productivity, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
And I guess this game was Matt Wells more forced to make this move because of, the early turnaround. The rest of the team stayed the same. It was just Yappy and Maziz that ended up starting. But
Yeah.
or do you think it was more just a different approach against this LA team?
Yeah, I think my guess is that it was a different approach for this LA team. And I think even Matt had mentioned that they were surprised by the fact that Sun and Boanga didn't start. So and then once they did come on in the second half, they actually adjusted to the plan that they had to go after them. So I'm assuming once they got the starting lineup of that, they made maybe some tactical adjustments there. But I don't think it means that Paxton and Yappy weren't expected there. But I think you look at the lineup, Wells really wanted to get his best out there that he had available. Obviously, Josh Atencio was on suspension for yellow card accumulation at that point, and Youssef needed to get some additional minutes, and and definitely showed his quality. But what we saw was Youssef really playing the natural 10. Paxton did a really good job, right on that right wing. He's got pace and he's, drives into space really well and dribbles really well. So, did what he should have done at the wing and was creating some opportunities and making it challenging. Paired pretty nicely with Wayne on that side as well. But man, I tell you what, for me, it was an interesting lineup because what we ended up getting a lot of the time was we would get this like back three with the
Yeah.
fullback like Navarro really coming into midfield. And I saw Navarro have full freedom to go wherever he wanted to go on the pitch,
Yeah.
which was pretty wild to me that he had that and did a good job at it. And given the circumstances of the team we were playing, that might have been a situation that was because Belonga and Son weren't out there that he had that freedom. Because I couldn't imagine if you have Son and Belonga out on the pitch like that, he's able to move. And I think even Wells mentioned that was some of the tactical adjustments that they did where Cannon was really just locked down, man to man on Belonga to can eliminate him. So I'm assuming that was some of the adjustments that happened and the freedom from Navarro, which was wild. I was like, he's a left back and I'm seeing him, playing the ball on the right central midfield side, as like an 8. And it was just an interesting dynamic that was happening. But I liked it. It was interesting. And I didn't get as nervous as I thought I was going to get because the defensive side of things between Loic, Holding, and Cannon when they needed to, and Hamzat would come back and track back and cover. They did a solid job on the back line. So despite the movement and adjustment, the team kind of shifted roles relatively well. And it was actually really nice to see against a team that is really dangerous, right? And a team that will score on you if you give them the opportunity.
Dude, I'm glad you actually said that about Navarro because I was gonna bring it up myself. Dude, that was a back three when we were in possession, and it looked as if he was playing the pivot with Hamza. Uh, you know what I mean? Because he was definitely
Yeah,
right next to
he was.
Hamza all over the pitch on both sides, bro. There was
Yep.
times where he was like even overlapping Hamza, and Hamza was even more further left than he was, bro. And
Exactly.
I mean, I've noticed that, bro. That seems to be something that Miggy's doing throughout this part of the season. Like,
Mhm.
there's times when I'm in the South Bank with Greg, and he's like, "Dude, look how far in Navarro is," and dude, that is I mean, I think back to like the beginning of the season where we were kind of talking about, Matt Wells' formation and how he was going to try and bring this European style. Like, dude, that's very reminiscent to a European style type of buildup, right? Is
Mhm.
that type of versatility with your back line where you have these backs that definitely come into the midfield. I mean, I think of like Nico Riley from Manchester City, um, or just Zinchenko from Arsenal and Man City, who was taking in that type of playing style, right?
Yep.
Either a left back coming in so far up that you can almost be considered a CDM. Like that's
Mhm.
not very far from a European style mentality, a European style I guess stylistically is what it definitely looks like that type of system. And
Yep.
dude, all praises for Mickey, who's one confident enough to do that. Um, I think back to the red card that we got that they got that Sporting KC got right.
Mhm.
It was on a foul on Mickey, who was literally I think on the opposite side of where he needed to be.
He was on
Right,
the right side. Yeah,
tackle,
yeah, yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. So he was that far over, bro.
Mhm.
Probably playing that CDM role, went to get the
Yeah.
ball or whatever, and ended up
Well,
getting tackled. So
I think it came off of a corner or something like that, and so he just had an opportunity to get out there and get to the ball first. But yeah, I mean, he was definitely on the wrong side of the field that you'd expect him to be on, and sure sold that one too. I think he even
Yeah.
joked about his acting skills after that. But yeah, no, it's been him, his play, his style, what has been asked of him, and whether what Wells is directing that, or he just has the ability to be a little bit more free flowing. It's been interesting, and so far it seems to be working relatively well. I would imagine it's tough to defend against from from the other team's perspective. It's because he's shifting and changing, where he's at quite a bit. I will say that the concern that I have is that you definitely leave gaps. And, when he does that, there is a pretty big hole back. And he does have some pace. He did really good job getting back to defend in moments with LAFC. So I applaud his ability to do that. But I do get a little concerned with him getting too far out of his, realistic zone on the field, because if we do leave the hole there with somebody who can exploit that, we could definitely be in real trouble.
Yeah. I mean, he does leave us exposed if he's not willing to track back and really bust a gut to get there, bro. But no, dude, all positive from him, dude. Honestly, all positive from him. I think he fits. I mean, we've even talked about this. Like, he's part of that, that Spanish speaking conglomerate that we kind of have on the team that just
Mhm.
seems to have such a good relationship. You know what I mean, on and off the pitch.
Yeah.
Um, Bro, I have to ask you though, something that happened throughout this game or during this game was, of course, we got the penalty and your boy Navarro stepped up. Bro, I asked you, I was it last pod when we
Hmm.
talked about the penalty taker
Yeah.
and you said, Hoff was your guy. The reason I asked that question when I did Crash is because I'm just not sold on it. Like, I know while back, um, Matt Wells had kind of mentioned that they were practicing them, and I even joked that he should be studying the Harry Kane penalty tactics and stuff like that,
Mhm.
because Harry Kane for me is one of the best strikers in the world, and if you can have somebody to help you replicate that type of form or that type of style, then you're
Mhm.
probably in good standing. But dude, I just Crash, I'm not even gonna lie, bro. I did not feel comfortable seeing him step up to take that penalty kick. I don't know if it's like the run up. I don't know what it is, but
Mhm.
I sometimes doubt Hoffa's penalty taking ability, bro. And again, this kick was a very easy taken penalty kick, which Carter blocked. And I'm looking at Fatma, bro. He got the 8.5. He got
Mhm.
the player of the match, if you will, according to FOTMob. And it
Right.
was probably for a couple of his good saves and that
Mhm.
one as well, bro. Was it a good save or was it just a badly taken penalty?
Um, I think it was a good save more than it was a bad penalty. Um, but I will also caveat that as Hoffa could have had a better penalty, right? Um, I think it was a strong ball played to the left of the keeper. That was it was basically on the ground. So you dive the right direction, you're saving the ball, right? And I think that's the key of it. If Hoffa was able to get some air underneath that, I believe that would have been a goal. I think he would have gotten it right over top of Carter. But yeah, I think it's something to be mindful of at least. Hoffa does a good job for the most part. He's changed his penalty kicks completely from what we're used to, which I prefer. Instead of that stutter step, I hated that thing, and it just never seemed to work the way it needed to. And so for me, I give him a little bit of grace because I talked about it today with our girls, and we had we were scrimmaging another team, and we had to do a PK, and just to get the girls prepped for the tournament this weekend, and sure enough, and we tell the keeper, you choose you choose a decision. You go left, you go right. It's 50-50. You go the right direction, you can save it. If you don't go the right direction, then you don't save it, right? It's not on you. It's just part of the deal. So I think in reality, Carter chose the right direction. Hoffa had a solid take on the ball. He just needed to get it up off the ground, and if he had, maybe it'd have been different. But again, Carter dives the other direction. It's a goal, and and we are up 2-0. So I can't knock him too much, and I give him a bit of grace on this one.
Dude, I think that maybe, well, how do I want to phrase this? I wonder if we just don't have anybody else on the team that, one, has the minerals to step up and take the penalty kick, because that's pressure, homie. You know what I mean? Even if you're up by a goal, or even if if you're down by a goal, or if it's a penalty shootout, that's pressure. So and Hoffa knows that, he's got that dog in him, if you will. You know what I mean? He is willing to take that penalty kick, regardless of how many he's missed in the past. He's got that goldfish mentality, to quote Ted Lasso. He'll probably forget that and bag the next one.
Yeah.
But if I'm that penalty taker, homie, I'm lining up my shot, bro, and I'm giving it the beans, bro. I'm putting it top bins. You know what I mean? I would not want to leave it in an area where the keeper has a chance to stop it, right? I mean, if you're putting it post stamp style up in the corner, no keeper is saving that, not even Hugo, you know what I mean? Not, very hard for a keeper to stop those ones.
Absolutely.
I guess my issue with it, Krash, is the penalty selection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, totally. And I think that's, the shot he took, in reality, if he's able to get that, anywhere from 3 feet off the grass to the post, it's a goal. And that's going to be a goal almost every time. So putting it on the ground, I mean, I feel like he's better than that. And he gets paid a lot of money to score goals and be the best out there when it comes to finishing. So I would hope to see that. But it doesn't always work out. And maybe he was just like, I want to play it safe and put it in, and he's going to dive to the right, and we're going to have a goal. And he dove to the left.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I do agree they could really focus on getting this, getting the shot placed exactly where it needs to be, middle third to top third of the net and into the side netting. You're not saving any of that, right? So,
well, let's talk about the game a bit more, my homie.
Yep.
Again, Rapids did win on the ball possession meter, 51-49. So, barely got that one. Our XG again, Krash, over 2 over 2. It was actually 2.21 expected goals, 13 total shots, 4 of those on target. And again, we even doubled LAFC's touches in the opposition box, our 28 to their 14, with 4 big chances, my homie. 4 big chances. Plus, we had 4 big chances missed, which was a common theme of what's been going on, right? You're talking those balls. We were talking before we started the stream. We could have easily pumped this slot for 2, 3, 4 goals as well, my homie.
Oh, easy.
What about the overall play, my homie? Just we talked about Bouanga being on the bench. We talked about Heung-min Son being on the bench. Also, their starting goalkeeper, Hugo, being on the bench. But still, bro, LAFC is not one of these teams that what's the word? The drop off from the first team to the subs.
Oh yeah,
it shouldn't be that big. It's not that big, you know what I mean? So we still beat, and if I'm honest with you, we still handled comfortably a big team, my homie.
Mm-hmm. We absolutely did. So I can't knock them at all for that. And honestly, I think, a lot of the credit has to go to Matt Wells for the adjustment to the lineup that he made. We got, like I mentioned, Paxton was out wide. Youssef got his first start really at the 10. We got Yappy there on the left, off a striker as normal, and then Wayne, and then all the kind of the weird double pivot between Miguel and Hamza that happened. But Youssef was the game changer in the first half. And and for those who haven't watched the game, I recommend going out there and watching and seeing him on the ball. I'm interested in actually going back and rewatching that first half and kind of hearing what the commentators even have to say, because he was a very solid player. And you could see, I mean, I'm in like row 9, pretty close to the pitch, and you could see him sweating pretty heavily, getting gassed pretty easily. The the elevation was really getting to him. But he was putting in a really solid shift, and when he got on the ball, he didn't give it away. And he would either find a really good solid option. He would dribble through and go 1v1 against the defender and make a move. And his free kicks, his dead ball situation was really solid. And so I think once he gets up to speed, once he gets fully ingrained in training and has the same level of fitness as everyone else, I'm really excited what he can produce. I'm excited to see him in San Diego. I was just down in San Diego for work. And for those of you who travel, if you're a runner or anybody, you'll know that you go from Colorado down to San Diego or anywhere on the beach, and you go for a run, you feel like Superman, right? And like I'm running 20 seconds a mile faster just on my everyday runs, because I can, and your body you're getting more air in your lungs, and you can go farther and faster. And so I'm actually really excited for the San Diego game, and I hope to see him get the start, because I think we're going to see him be able to push himself a little bit further and a little more what he's probably accustomed to, because he's not dealing with the challenge of lack of oxygen. So if he shows up the same way he showed up on Wednesday against San Diego on Saturday, I'm excited for this player. And so far, a goal and we will give him the goal, at least from our perspective, despite it being called an own goal. A goal and assist in your first 2 matches at home on a new team, everybody's going to be excited by that. And so, I'm really excited by his play, and he really created the majority of the situations that kind of happened, because it made the team have to choose. It had who am I going to defend? Who am I going to focus on more? Right? It wasn't like, I don't need to worry about these guys because I know what they're gonna do. He made them have to really make a choice and guess and it really opened up the midfield with him, playing as that 10, which was really exciting.
Yeah. Well, Krash, just to kind of recap a little bit of what we've been talking about, and even touch on past episodes that we've had, dude. Out of the last 5 games, homie, we've picked up 12 out of a possible 15 points. That is freaking amazing. Four on the bounce at home. Four on the bounce at home. We had that game in St. Louis that, unfortunately didn't go our way, but we also didn't get worked that game. It was a 1-0 defeat. Krash, those 12 points, like we said earlier, bro, have us sitting in 7th place, bro. 7th place with 28 points, a plus 5 goal difference. Dude, we were talking about it, and we were thinking maybe, I think I said we could end up in 8th place to leapfrog a couple of these teams. Dude, we've even leapfrogged the pesky rivals from the wrong side of the Rocky Mountains. Real Salt Lake. So we're gonna play San Diego FC on the weekend. They are sitting in 13th place.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we're back home for the RSL match. Dude, how important are these next 2 games for just the psyche, the momentum? You remember coming up soon, bro, we're gonna have that US Open Cup semi-final match.
Yeah.
just looking forward now, Crash. I mean, how key is a good performance against San Diego leading into that Rocky Mountain Cup showdown with RSL? And
Yeah.
seventh place, bro. Are we comfortably sitting in seventh place,
No.
or do you feel like we've kind of squeaked our way into seventh place?
No. Well, I'll say, I mean, we are not comfortably in seventh place. Just to kind of push that out because we're looking at right now, we're at 28. Real Salt Lake is tied at 28. Portland Timbers, who are on a really good run of form, um, they have 27. Galaxy, who did pick up some points over the weekend, they're going to be playing Montreal, I think, next. They're at 25, and then Minnesota, who hasn't been playing super well, at 25. So if you just look at the four teams around us that are most likely, you got Galaxy, Timbers, um, Real Salt Lake, and ourselves. There's you throw a blanket over it, and you could be in 11th place again. And so I think that's the thing that we have to be careful of is that we don't get complacent. Our result against San Diego is really going to show what we're made of. We haven't been historically good on the road, right? We went to St. Louis, got an immediate red card, and played, 10 men, lockdown, just suffered the entire game and conceded late and lost the game. If we can play a full 90 with 10 players in San Diego, or with 11 players in San Diego, we have a real shot. And San Diego's not a bad team, but they haven't been playing well. So if we can capitalize on that form and get them frustrated early, I mean, we can take 3 points away from that and go into RSL with our heads held high with a lot of momentum, and then we're cooking, right? You get if we can get 6 points from these next two games, we're going to be sitting in a really good spot on the table and make us feel really confident going into that U.S. Open Cup game against St. Louis. So I'm optimistic that and hopeful that we see that. But we have been historically bad on the road. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that kind of turns out. But it's definitely, we have a chance to really push ourselves into the narrative of the top in the West if we keep performing like this.
Well, I'll tell you something though, Crash. I'm looking at the Western Conference standings right now, and based on the last 5 games, Houston Dynamo have 5 in a row, but then the second best form is the Colorado Rapids, homie.
Mm-hmm.
We're 4 wins, 1 loss, and that's good enough to be second best in the last 5 games. Which to me, bro, I mean, I think obviously that loss to St. Louis City SC, it does suck. But apart from that, we've given ourselves the best opportunity coming back from the summer break
Mm-hmm.
to end up in this position, right? I mean, the MLS is a hard league if you're not going to be winning your games at home.
Yeah.
A lot of the games that we're going to be playing on the road, bro, we could probably chalk up an L or hope for at least walking out of there with the point. And as long as we continue to hold our own at home, and you're right, go to places like San Diego FC where we've been historically bad, pick up a result, you know, it could definitely lead to more, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're squeaking by in seventh place, but I also don't want to take away from the fact that like based on form, based on our results, based on
Mhm.
how we've been dominating the games, it's just
Mhm.
been these lack of goals, right? Huge XGs throughout this run for each freaking game. I remember, Matt Wells even talking about how, yeah, it is a sustainable type of uh system, just the high XG. I think he just feels that like some of those chances are not getting bagged, but they will come good, right? Like, and I guess I feel that same type of vibe, just as long as we keep trying, as long as we keep, you know, putting in the chances, eventually, bro, they're gonna be going into the back of the net. And I do want to big up Rafa Navarro before we move on, bro, because again, for the third season in a row, double figures in goals, my homie.
Hmm. Yeah, man, definitely. And I think too the other real piece of this is, we look back at that St. Louis City game and we're like, oh dang, they lost points. Could that be the game that really bites us? And you kind of look at the table as, yeah, if we would have won that, we would have 3 more points. That puts us at 31. That would put St. Louis, if they lost that game, down to 27. And so they're kind of at the low end of the playoff spectrum. But that puts us only one place up from where we currently are. So that's not a bad place to be. And it gives us an opportunity to really go into the second half of the season. We just keep the momentum. We keep grinding out these results. We can be in really good contention for the playoffs, which I'm excited for. But again, we need to finish. We need to keep creating these chances and get the ball in the back of the net. If we could solve that or bring in some additional players to help solve that, and we start, scoring multiple goals in games, I can see that happening pretty easily.
Dude, I'm completely impressed, bro. Honestly, we've done, like I said at the beginning, we've done a 180 uh, before the summer break, dude. I would have told you that the playoffs were out of reach. Why would we even want to, you know, compete in postseason football, if you will? Um, and now, like, we're I know it's still early days, don't get me wrong, there's still tons of football to play, but that could either be a gift or it could be a curse, my homie. We'll just have to wait to see what happens, and waiting to see what happens also, bro, with the remainder of the transfer window. Crash,
Yep.
couple of rumors maybe we could touch on before, well, I even anything you wanted to say on the games, bro? Anything you wanted to say on the position that we're in, or before we move on?
No, I mean the only thing to keep in mind is, we have a relatively congested schedule coming up, and how
Mm.
we mitigate that and play that is going to be key. So I know we're going to touch on it here in just a second, but we're going to need those inbound players very quick, because we need to get them ingrained and up to speed, specifically to have them ready to go for that Open Cup match. Because we need to have our best
Yeah.
11 on the pitch playing and battling St. Louis, because they have been in a decent run of form, and they're gonna come to town and really try to spank us again at home. Um, but then you look at the table, we have, like we mentioned, we have San Diego SC away. We come back to RSL. We go away to Columbus. We go away to Austin, and then we come back in the middle of September, right before the Open Cup against Montreal. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. You look at those, that RSL game, the way that RSL's been playing lately is definitely a winnable game. That's one. Austin, we beat them. They haven't been doing so hot. Definite winnable game. Montreal, definite winnable game. So at least 3 of those games are games that we should win, right? And so that's 9 points there. If we can eke out another, 3 or even 4 points out of those games, of those 5, that's huge. That's us being in a very good, solid playoff contention game. So September is going to be a big month for us, and that momentum leading into the Open Cup match against St. Louis is going to be huge. And then even after that, we go into Seattle at the end of the month, who has been in a terrible run of form. So we have 6 league games this month or in September that could completely shift the momentum of this team to the top of the table if we can keep consistently grinding out these results. So I'm optimistic that it's possible. Historically, in the way that we've consistently played as Rapids over the years, doesn't make me very optimistic, but it's absolutely a potential that we could be, pushing for the top of the table.
Mm. I hope so, my homie. I hope so. Moving forward, homie, let's talk a little bit about the latest rumor, if you will. We were kind of talking before the stream. The links with the Israel player have kind of died down. Don't I off the top of my head, I don't remember the fella's name, but the links have kind of been quiet on that front.
Mhm.
But the newest rumor that's been kind of floating out there, Crash, and you did post this on the Confluence as well, was a guy by the name of what was it? I just had it pulled up here. Everton Cebolinha from Flamengo, which is a Brazilian side. He actually does have a contract, it says until December, but is not willing to renew. Looks like there was a couple of offers made, one from a Russian side, uh, Krasnodar, and the Italian side in Fiorentina. And Colorado Rapids came in and made a good offer too. Crash, what do you think of this rumor here? Um,
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Looking
I
at
think
he's a forward as well.
yep, yeah, he's predominantly a winger. So looks like he's what usually plays on the left. Um, y- a good frame of reference on how good this player is how many highlight videos do you see on YouTube, right? That's a good sign that he's been around, he's got minutes, and he plays well. Well, sure enough, if you want to go on YouTube, you can search his name, and there are plenty of them every year. And which is always what we want. We want to have a known quantity that we can bring onto the team, which is great. Watching some of those, he from a player profile, he seems very much like Georgie Manungu. Very much I'm going to take you 1v1, very pacey, really good at dribbling and making defenders, just feel like Swiss cheese because I mean I think I saw multiple megs and an ability to just cut the ball and beat them at will, which is really exciting. Um, the other side of the thing is he's a Brazilian is Brazilian attacker. And so, having somebody of that caliber, with Hoffa, speaking the same language, being able to understand kind of, playing styles and knowing kind of those expectations, I think is really helpful. The communication on the field and natural language is always beneficial. Um, so I really like this idea. He is a little older than what we kind of consistently have on the team, but I don't think that's a bad thing. He's only around 30 years old, so he's not terribly old, but he's got a higher profile than our current team, which is but I think that experience is positive. Um, Looks like transfer market has his estimated value as of May around 7 million euros. So with that around 7 to 8 million. So it's not a small chunk of change for him, and would put him at top of, one of the top of the players on the team. So it's interesting. I would assume he would be a DP level signing at this point, and it could be a good opportunity for us to get some quality. Is there better options? Maybe I don't know. Maybe they're getting him on a different deal, or maybe they have some other things planned. But I think it could be on paper and considering who we have on the team and our wingers being kind of struggling, he would be a good option for us.
Yeah, dude, and not to steer too far away from what we're talking, but you see players like Alexis Sanchez going to Montreal. I think I seen today Bril Embolo, the what is he, the Swiss player, um, being looked at by another MLS. I think it was Atlanta United. Um, then you see Robert Lewandowski, obviously a bigger name. We talked about the fella going to Orlando, obviously a big name, Griezmann. But the MLS is starting to be one of this league, that like will cater to good players, bro. It's not a retirement league. So uh, Are you at least, hopeful that the Rapids will be able to pick up one of these, um, I guess, monetarily,
Mhm.
his value is a lot more than what we're kind of used to fishing around. Not necessarily the biggest name, but you kind of touched on it yourself. Like if you go look his name up on YouTube, you're bound to see some reels. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's not like he's an unknown person, but are you hopeful, bro? Do you think
Yeah.
do you think honestly in your heart of hearts that the Rapids have it to pull off one of these signings to beat a team like Fiorentina, right? The
Mhm.
Russian team, no hate against them, but like Colorado versus playing in Russia, I don't know where his priorities are, but you would probably think the MLS, you're gonna have more eyes on you there. Fiorentina in Italy, obviously probably a bigger market than what the Colorado Rapids are. So that's probably the only team that I guess I would say he could choose over us if those are the only ones in for him. But in your heart of hearts, homie, are you hopeful that this happens? Bringing in a
Yeah.
player like him, or of equal or lesser value type player?
Yeah, well, the way I look at it is I was initially excited by this, and I still kind of hold that stance, partially because, the Florentina, right, if I'm not mistaken, being going after him alongside us, that's where you want to be. You want to be going after a player that other clubs want. Can we beat them is the question. I don't know if that's possible, but we're at least at going after a player that's, meant that's, to some degree, um, looked to be playing in the, top division in Italy. So that's exciting. I think, the Russian team, I can't imagine that that's really going to be an option for him. I think he comes from playing in Portugal, then down in Brazil. Um, going to Russia seems like, especially when you have Italy or U.S. as an option. I can't imagine you
Yeah.
opting to go to Russia. One, because of the current state of the world, what's going on there. That's not inherently where I'd want to hang out on a regular basis. But the other side of that too is that you know there's the piece of it I'm looking at. He's 30 years old. He's looking to keep playing. Um, Italy, how much playing time is he really going to get? Is he going to struggle for minutes? Is he gonna be a starter over there? He comes here, he's a starter on day one, and could be a really big, create a nice name for him in MLS. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see where his head's at, where their numbers are, and kind of how he approaches it. But I could definitely see this as a potential win for us. Be just given that those circumstances.
Yeah. Nah, bro, we'll have to see. I think he's under contract until December. So would that be somebody we pick up in January?
I wouldn't imagine. I think it sounds like there's multiple offers out for him already, and so this is the idea would be is pick him up now, before the new season starts, is at least for the international uh, players. So he would likely come over and as soon as the windows, before the window closes, hopefully, and ideally have his visa and all that stuff right away. Um, but yeah, we'll see what progresses on it. Again, this is all still just rumors, but there were a bunch of people posting about it on Next out there, and it seems like it's something that has a little bit of legs. If anything, it's just a pre-contract. Hey, we're interested. We want to talk, and we were interested in getting the player. So they're really trying to push for him. It's just whether or not we can win it out.
I wonder if we have the money to make it happen, Crash.
I would. It's amazing. I don't know if we have it or not. If we should have just asked, KSE for a little extra, advance or something. But yeah, I don't know if anything happened recently to give us an extra money, but
Yeah, no, surely they could scrounge up some change and make it happen, right? Go shake off the piggy bank and see what comes out of it, bro. Maybe we'll have enough to buy a nice little player.
they could definitely shake off anything at the Emirates and get enough money to pay for this team. That's for sure.
You ain't lying, my homie. Krash, was there anything that we didn't discuss in this podcast that maybe you were hoping to talk about, or anything that we missed?
No, I think, like you said, we're in a exciting season. We've got 4 clean sheets at home in 4 games. We've only conceded 1 out of 5. So the team's playing well defensively. Nico is really solid in the between the sticks, and if we can solve these problems, getting the ball into the back of the net, and when I say problems, meaning we should be doing multiple goals in a game. If we can get that, I'm excited. This is a team that it could be really exciting to watch at the second half of the season and kind of pushing it home. So yeah, if you're watching the Rapids, if you're interested in the Rapids, now's the time to do it, because they've been showing up and shelling out and work, and struggling and doing all the things that make it exciting to watch the team. And hopefully they start scoring a bunch of goals, which is going to even make it more exciting.
Yeah. Well, and the only thing I will say before we close off this episode is Premier League football is back this weekend. I'm wishing you and yours a very happy Premier League season, unless of course you're my homie Krash and a Gooner. I hope you got. I'm just joking. Krash, are you excited for the Premier League season to start, bro?
Oh, of course. I'm excited. And I'm excited for really all of the English football to get started, and international football in general, just because more football is better than no football. And anytime I wake up on a Saturday and I'm not running to go coach a game, or I've got a late one, or I've got a day off, or whatever it might be, it's nice just to be able to turn a game on and just have it going on in the background and go. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see how our boy Lucas is gonna net out with Hull.
Yeah.
Kind of follow him there, which is exciting. The whole with Wrexham and kind of where they're at, pushing for another Premier League opportunity, is always a fun story to follow too. So there's just so many just really fun, exciting storylines to kind of follow. I mean, and if you're a Hotspur fan, sounds like, you guys have been spending a crap ton of money on players, and you're ready to just start rolling in through the Premier League and show them who's boss. So, and there's all kinds of things there, going from the, just squeaking by to really trying to push for some European football over there. So I'm excited for you guys too. And that's another storyline I'm excited to watch.
Yeah, dude, honestly, I know the banter is pretty thick, and like, people may not know, bro. You're an Arsenal fan. I'm a Tottenham fan. We're both Rapid sickos. The Premier League would not be the same without its annual 2 North London derbies a year, bro. I'm just gonna say that right now, dude. It would have just been so bad for the Premier League, bro, for it to not have a North London derby in it. So one of the fixtures I'm definitely looking forward to this season. So no, again, I just want to wish you and your respective club, whoever it is that you support, listener, best of luck this season, except for when you're playing his team and my team. Then it's on you mofos. It's on. No, Krash, always a pleasure to sit here and chat with you. Always a pleasure to sit here and chat with the Confluites. My homie, cue up that outro music.
Yeah. My heart, C38, Lil Coys and KTK. Locals on the flat, causing turbulence. Causing waves on our way to the confluence. New voice for the fans, from the pitch to the stands. My heart, locals in the South Bank lads. Leo, Coys and the whole meat crash. Hold up, what's this? A raft on the water to the confluence. Yeah, it's trance and banter, rhymes and laughter. Head to the waters if it's piss you're after. C38, the time is now. Locals on the drums to hold it down. Like the stream and 2 5 stars. The mile high Hotspur and crash the car. Yeah.